Alright, so today what we're going to do is we're going to do a very basic simple setup directly from the Qhora-301W. Alright, we're going to show you what are the various steps that are available and we will go through it. So there I will show you DHCP setup, static IP, and then followed by PPPoE. These are some of the options. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment. We will definitely give you a reply. Alright, meanwhile, do remember to like our video and subscribe to our channel. Okay, so let's proceed on to the user interface of the Qhora. Right, so you can move and see that my mouse is over here. Right now, this is what happens is, what I've done is I have actually connected a WAN cable directly from my fiber internet. Okay, so it's connected to the WAN interface of LAN 1 of the router, and I have another LAN cable that's connected to my computer. All right, so what I've done is I've entered in the IP number of the router and go into the quick smart setup. So all you have to do is the installation guide will assist you. Just click start like so. All right, and you'll explain what's going to happen. You're going to set up and access the QWAN. All right. And in terms of interface, all right, so for the Qhora-301W, you have three WAN interface which you can select. So you have DHCP, static IP, or PPPoE. Okay, so if example in your country or in your subscription of your internet, you are using PPPoE, you have to prepare the username and password ready to input into the requirements that you need for your PPPoE. Now for today's setup, what's going to happen is I'm actually using DHCP. So I'm going to select DHCP and I'm going to click apply. Right. So what is done is similarly my internet WAN is on my port 1 of 4 of the gigabit LAN ports. Okay, it's not on the 10G port. All right. Okay, so I'm going to click apply and it's going to start connecting. It's going to check to make sure that I am connected to the internet. All right. So the next thing is, because the Qhora-301 has Wi-Fi 6. Okay, as mentioned in my previous videos, you have to select the region where you are so that the Wi-Fi will be adjusted to the local regulatory requirements. All right. So me being in Singapore, I'm going to select Singapore, and you have 3 chances to change the country code. All right. So you have 3 chances to change. All right. So I'm going to click apply. So once you click apply, you can't change it any further. Okay. So it's going to pre-configure. All right. So right now, because this video is done in Taiwan, all right, so it's going to select and change that is Taiwan. All right, so I may want to deselect and select that I'm in Taiwan. Okay, so this video right now, currently we are doing it in Taiwan. I'm going to apply, right, and it's going to check and show me that, okay, it has new firmware and stuff like that. So you can either choose to update if you wish, okay, whether you want to do it live or manual. All right, so the router currently right now has the latest firmware of 1.4.6, okay, 1.4.6, which is all updated with, like I mentioned in my previous video, WPA3 Wi-Fi, okay, it's being done. 11AX Wi-Fi 6, 160 megahertz is also being done. VPN, OpenVPN protocol is also being done. All right, so all these 3 major updates has all been done. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to skip this portion first. Okay. Okay, and it's going to program into the router. Okay. Right, so as we can see that during this setup that I am actually doing this video in Taiwan. So what's going to happen is the Wi-Fi channels will be set according to the Taiwan country regulation as per the Taiwan NCC regulation. Okay. So right now I can log in using my local credentials. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to log it in. All right. So I'm going to go in. No, it's admin no password if I'm not wrong. Or, oh, sorry, I need to check what's the password on the bottom of the router. Okay, so what's going to happen is the Wi-Fi, the admin access, okay, for default is actually at the bottom of the router. Okay, so over here, okay, in case if you have forgotten, all right, so all you have to do is just check the labels, okay, and to see what's the password. Okay, so over here you can see the Wi-Fi password followed by the Qhora-123.4. You can see, let me try and zoom it in. Okay, can you try, let me see. Okay, so the username is Qhora and the password is Qhora-1234. Okay, so over here, we have seen that here is the login page. All right, so I'm not going to reveal my password to you, but if you were to flip over the router, you'll be able to see your password. All right, username is going to be admin. Okay, your password is going to be on the label after you have actually reset the whole entire router or restart the router, or if you are going in at the very first time. Okay, remember your password is at the bottom of your router on the label. So I'm going to click login. And of course, I'm not going to remember my, okay. So now the next thing is you can of course modify your username password after you have actually logged in for the very first time. Okay, so you over here, the default is going to be admin, and then of course the password will be something that we have that we will enter in for 8 characters. Okay, so this will lock me out and then we will log in again. Okay. So I've actually changed my username and my password. So right now I'm going to re-log in again. And once that's done, okay, so I'm going to be in. All right. So over here we can see the dashboard. All right. So it has a very clean dashboard for QNAP in terms of its router interface, which is very nice, and we all like it very much. All right, so over here it sees that if you follow my mouse cursor, you can see that the CPU temperature is normal. Okay, the system uptime, how long it's been long, how long it's been up, the firmware. Okay, as you know that the firmware for this particular router has been updated and all is working fine. It gives you a green tick where you can see the device connection is good. All right, you have internet access, the router health is okay, and we have one single client connected, which is my computer, by the local LAN. All right, so we are all connected. And for the SSIDs, okay, for the Wi-Fi, we have actually two. One is on 2.4, another one is on 5G. Should you require additionals, then you can just trigger and switch it on. Okay, so let's take a look very quickly after we've done with the dashboard. As usual, my WAN is still on the LAN 1, okay, because this is a gigabit. Okay, and we can take a look on the clients. Okay, the clients is on my desktop. And now in terms of network, okay, as usual, we've been that this is the new version of the firmware, which is 1.4.6. All right, so you have the new one and you have the WAN on port 1. Okay, and of course we have a LAN, which is I've connected on LAN 3. All right, so in case if you want to do any changes, if you want it to be not on the access mode but on trunk mode, you can also change it. You can even add a description to it if you have a very big network. Now, in terms of the port definition, okay, there hasn't been any changes since version 1.1. It's still the same. You can dedicate the LAN 1 on the first 4 ports of the gigabit to be on the WAN, or next to assign one of the 10G ports, all right, to be your WAN, or at the same time you can have both LAN 1 and LAN 2 to be your WAN. Okay, so when that happens, okay, what's going to happen is both will be on a aggregation. Okay, it's on WAN aggregation to access the internet. So that's to ensure that there's no disruption to your internet. Okay, I'm not going to do that because I only have one WAN today, so I can't demonstrate that. I will demonstrate that further down the road if I have access to 2 WANs. Okay, so now in terms of the WAN, okay, you can of course take a look and see what kind of WANs you have. What's the WAN IP number that you have? We are on DHCP. Okay, how much traffic is flowing in and out of the WAN. Okay, now for the LAN, as usual, you can also see that what's the description for the LANs that you have. All right. Of course, for VLANs, you can also configure VLANs from VLAN 1. Of course, don't use VLAN 1. You can configure from VLAN 2 upwards off to 4094. Okay, but for 4094 is being used currently as the guest Wi-Fi network. Okay. Now, in terms of routing, so should you require to add additional new static routes, this is where you can add in your new static routes which you require. Okay. In terms of Wi-Fi, okay, over here we have one single SSID, okay, which is on 2 bands, all right, and everything is on automatics. Okay, should you require to change it, just click on Advanced Band Settings. Okay, so over here by default the band steering is enabled. Okay, so it's band steered to 5 GHz. Okay, and if you want to choose a higher 5 GHz bandwidth, all right, you can of course go to 160. Now, we know that if you are 160, what's going to happen? You're going to have an increase in speed, but your coverage is going to drop slightly. Okay, because with speed, Either you choose one, you want coverage or you want speed. You can't have both at the same time. Okay, take note of that. All right, I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to leave it alone. Now, if you're staying near, if you know that nearby where you are staying, if you have a large weather antenna, or if you know that you're near an airport, do enable DFS channels. So in case you incur any of the interference from the weather radar or from the any other form of radars that are nearby you. Okay, so that's very crucial. Now for 2.4, as usual, just leave it alone. Okay. Now in terms of channels, depending on the country that you are at, okay, you are allowed to choose anything that you can use. All right. So in this case, I'm just going to leave it at automatic. Okay, just leave it alone. Okay, it's going to choose by itself. Okay, I'm not going to change anything on the Wi-Fi. I'm just going to leave it alone. Okay, as of course, if you need to set any VLAN tags, okay, you can do it. And at the same time, if you want to have certain timing, okay, as to what time you want to have Wi-Fi, or what time you want to switch off the Wi-Fi. For example, you may even set up a certain SSID for your kids or for your other family members. Okay, you can do that, and you can schedule the SSID to be broadcast at certain time of the day or of the week. Okay, so you can select either the day of the week or the time of the week or the period of time. Okay, so that's one of the additional advantage that you may have with this router. Okay. I hardly see that in any other routers, so this is one of the special features that I noticed in the Qhora QNAP router. Okay, so next, other than the wireless access points, you can enable firewall rules. Okay, so in case if you want to set up any firewall rules. Okay, all right, so let's see what we can do in terms of firewall rules. Okay, you can add. Okay, you can add any rules to determine the number, the protocol that you need. Okay, as to what you would allow or disallow the protocol. Okay, so I'm not going to enable it. Now in terms of NAT, you can do application layer, okay, or you can do a port forwarding. So in case if you have any devices that require port forwarding like NAS, IP cameras, or any other special sensors that requires port forwarding, you can do it over here under NAT firewall rules and look at your net. Okay. So now in terms of UPnP, by default is switched off. Okay, by default is switched off. But if you have any other devices that you want to enable easy access, maybe like for example a smart TV, which you want to have easy access to the internet and fast and quick. Okay, so you can enable UPnP, and it will help you to have access for the device to go out to the internet. Okay, now as for the DDNS, okay, you can also enable the DDNS. All right, so you have to make sure that you can register one, okay, or you can select whatever DDNS that you want. Okay, now in terms of VPN settings, okay, so right over here you can see that it supports OpenVPN. Right, so for those who are into OpenVPN, you can do your selection and you can switch it on. Continue. Okay, can you give me my micro? All right, so over here we have concluded on the OpenVPN. So on the OpenVPN for the VPN clients, all right, so you have L2DP, you have the Q belt. To learn how to use the Q belt, please click on the link over here and it will show you how to do it. Right, other than the Q clients, okay, of course you can also do your Q clients where you can do connections. All right, so you can have add on your profiles. All right. And of course, parental control. We have done the previous video on parental control. You can refer it back to the video. There isn't any changes. It's still the same. Okay, so if you're going to add anything, just based on keywords and also the filtering for the parental control. Now, for the system for this new version of 1.4.6, it's still the same. Okay, it's either on router mode or AP mode. Okay, event logs as usual. All right, system settings. Okay. Over here you will see that there is the restart, reset, backup and restore. Of course, there is also the audio alert. Okay, it's something that is very useful. Why I say that? Because in case if your router is having heat issues, okay, so if your router is having heat issues, what's going to happen is it's going to have 10 short beeps. Okay, with the 10 short beeps, what's going to happen is it's going to inform you that your router is having heat issues. Make sure that your router is not covered with obstructed by things. make sure it is well ventilated. Okay, whenever you are placing a router, make sure that it is in a well ventilated area. Don't have anything blocking the air ventilations. Okay, there are air vents around the router. Make sure that they are not blocked. Okay. Now, other than that, on the system settings, we have the access control. Okay, so you can choose to see how you want to access it from local or from the outside WAN. Now, another important thing is on the USB settings. Okay, so you can set how you want the USB settings to be, because this will become, then you can enable it as your FTP server, be it that from remote or from local. Okay, so if, for example, you have the VPN back into the router, okay, you can of course also access the VPN via the local IP that's assigned. Okay, now for the firmware, as you can see here, it's on 1.4.6. It's the updated firmware. Now, of course, you can put it as live update, or you can put it as manual update. Okay, so these are the things that you can do. All right, so in regards to the router, over here, all you can see here, okay, we have the dashboard and it's back to where we are. Okay, let me go back to where we are. Okay, right, so over here on the dashboard, you can see all the usual stuff. All right, let me get out. Okay. Right, okay, so this basically concludes my introduction or explanation for the UI, okay, the user interface for the router. Okay, so if you have any questions about the user interface, please do let us know. You can write down in the comments or leave us some comments about it. Do remember to like and share our video. All right, thank you very much.